Welcome. Today is the fifth class in a series of laws of Lashon Hara, proper speech. And as promised, I'm going to speak about some laws as well as teshuvah, the process of fixing what you did. So let's start with teshuvah for Lashon Hara. As with any other sin, the proper teshuvah involves recognition that you did something wrong and regret for having done it. Number two, vidur, which means admission to Hashem in words. Hashem, I did this and this, I'm sorry. And number three, accepting upon yourself not to repeat this sin anymore. To take upon yourself that now that I know the laws, I'm not going to do it again. And since Lashon Hara is something that involves other people, it's bein adam lechavero, it's not enough to only ask forgiveness from Hashem, but you also have to ask forgiveness from the person that you hurt, chas v'shalom. So that is mechila. You have to actually approach a person and ask for mechila. And this may sometimes be difficult because the person might not know that you spoke negatively about him. If he knows, so that's easy. You just go and say, yes, you know I spoke about you, I'm sorry, please forgive me. But what if he doesn't know? Now this is complicated and not always the answer is the same. Are you supposed to tell him that you spoke negatively or not? And sometimes it's going to cause more bad than good. He's going to be upset, you're going to get into a fight. And if you're going to get into a fight, then you shouldn't. But as much as you can, you have to undo the effect of the Lashon Hara, which means you have to find everyone that heard this information and convince them otherwise. And convince them that what you said was a mistake, you didn't mean it, it was wrong information, that really the person is good. And that's what makes this Avira particularly difficult to fix, because once we speak, we are not in control where the words are going to go. Now, it so happens that the Daf Yomi for today and tomorrow is speaking exactly about Lashon Hara. And I would like to read for you just a little bit. Many things that we're going to read, we mentioned already, and this is mainly the source of all the laws of Lashon Hara. Yes?
Rabbi, you said if you spoke Lashon Hara about a person, you must go in person and ask him for mechila?
If possible, if you know you hurt somebody, through your Lashon Hara, you have to go and ask forgiveness from that person. And it's not always possible, but because it may create more animosity. And in such a case, you don't have to admit because you're going to create an enemy, but you do have to go to all the people that you spoke to and tell them that what you said is not true and that you're sorry and that the person is really good. Now, it says like this. First, the Gemara lists all the punishments that a person gets if he speaks Lashon Hara. And it so happens that it's the weekly parsha that we read about the Miraglim, and that's what the Gemara starts with, that the spies spoke negatively about the land. And look at what punishment the Jewish people received. Yesterday we read this Parshat Shlach. They spoke negatively about the land of Israel, and because of that they died right away, and the entire generation, 600,000 men died because of the Lashon Hara they spoke. And the Gemara says, look at the power of Lashon Hara. And not only that, who did they speak Lashon Hara about? The land, about stones and the earth. And still there is such a punishment. Imagine if you speak Lashon Hara about a human being, flesh and blood, who feels, who is embarrassed, who is hurt, how much more there is punishment. The Gemara also says that out of all the organs, the tongue is very special. You could say it's Hashem put it in the weakest position. All the other organs in the human body are vertical, except for the tongue, which is horizontal. And the tongue has two gates to protect it from coming out. One is the teeth and one is the lips, to show us how dangerous it is to give the tongue freedom. And another difference is that all other organs in the human body have flesh as well as bones. The tongue is the only one that has only muscle without bones. And still, even though the tongue is the weakest, it's really the strongest. And it can do the greatest harm or the greatest benefit. Through your tongue, you can make friends, you can heal people, you can help people, you can pray to Hashem, you can learn Torah, you can teach others. So much good you can do with your tongue. The Gemara says, someone who speaks Lashon Hara, it's as if he denies existence of Hashem. And he quotes the pasuk, Asher amru lelshoneno nagbir sefateno itanu mi adon lanu. A person who speaks, it's as if he says, my tongue, my speech is stronger than God. I, with my speech, will accomplish things that even God says I am not allowed. And it says, it says that leprosy or tzarat comes to a person that speaks Lashon Hara. Now, the Chachamim say, what about now? Now we don't have tzarat. So the Gemara answers that somebody who has tzarat is considered like he's dead. And somebody who is poor is considered like he's dead. So Hashem can replace one form of punishment with another. He can replace leprosy, tzarat, with being poor, with poverty, losing parnasa. Or chas v'shalom, ultimately it can lead to early death. And in fact, the Gemara says, someone who speaks Lashon Hara, he really kills three people. He kills himself, he kills the one that he speaks to, and he kills the one that he speaks about. All three get hurt. And Reish Lakish says that someone who speaks Lashon Hara is comparable to a snake. The only difference is the snake bites and kills you in this world, but Lashon Hara kills person even in Olam Haba. And it says, Ein yitron lebala lashon. The one who speaks negatively will not have any benefit, not in this world and not in the next. And that is the source of saying that someone who speaks Lashon Hara about the other, all the mitzvot that he did go to him, and all the avirot that the victim did go to the one that speaks Lashon Hara. And it says in the Gemara that Lashon Hara is compared to a weapon, but unlike a stick that can only damage where your hand can reach, and unlike a stone that you can throw but it can go only a limited distance, Lashon Hara can go across the world. As it says, Shatu b'shamayim piyem ulshonam ta'alech ba'aretz. You can be in the sky and your tongue is going to reach the earth. And we can understand this right now. You can be on an airplane and you can say or text Lashon Hara that's going to go all the way to the ground. It can go across the whole globe in a few seconds. Now, the Gemara, yes?
What if you seek advice on a family member who's causing you grief, but give yourself as Lashon Hara because you're talking about that person? So
yeah, there are cases where you're permitted and even obligated to speak about someone's negative behavior. following the conditions, but the main condition is that your intention is not to speak badly about them. Your intention is to help them. You really care for them. And you're not happy that you're saying these words. You would rather not. And you're doing it only for their benefit. That's the main guideline, if you're allowed to say or not. Now the Gemara says, "Ma takanato shel misapre lashon hara." Again, in these two dapim, 3 pages, the Gemara speaks many different punishments, seriousness of this sin. But then finally the Gemara asks, what can you do to fix it? Ma takanato shel misapre lashon hara. So it gives a few options. Im talmid chacham hu yasok b'Torah. If you're able to learn Torah, you should learn Torah. This is besides doing teshuvah, besides accepting upon yourself not to do it anymore, regret and asking forgiveness from the person and from Hashem. But what can you do to fix the damage that was done? So it says, learn Torah. Why? Because just like you damaged your tongue with bad words, now use your tongue to learn to say the words of Torah. Learn Torah, transmit Torah, teach Torah, say Tehillim. Use your tongue positively. Shene'emar, how do we know that Torah is a medicine, is a healing for someone who spoke Lashon Hara? Marpe Lashon Etz Chaim. What is the healing for tongue? Etz Chaim. What is Etz Chaim? Etz Chaim is Torah. Lashon is Lashon Hara, and the tree of life is Torah. Why? Because the pasuk says, Etz Chaim hi lemachazikim ba. Torah is a tree of life for those that hold on to it. And by the way, learning Torah is a remedy for many diseases, spiritual as well as physical. And many blemishes of a soul can be fixed by learning Torah. Yes.
I think I heard that if someone I guess if you, I don't know. Okay, I think I meant if you say if someone speaks derogatory language, then the tequilos are like pushed away by like. Certain
Yes, we damage our tools by misusing them. Right. If you take a delicate instrument and you misuse it, you damage it. And then next time you want to produce a work of art, the result is going to come out crooked because the instrument is damaged. So too with our tongue, that by using it only for proper words, we keep it strong. And our prayer will then carry its full meaning and power, go straight to Hashem, and our prayers will be answered. Someone who speaks negatively, right away he puts a stamp on every word, because now the tongue is damaged, his power of speech is impaired, and all his words are stamped with negativity.
And so, but I guess it's teshuva or asking forgiveness, and that's what removes the stamp then?
That's what removes the stamp, but that doesn't remove the effect of the words yet, fully. For that, if possible, you learn Torah, and now it says, what if a person cannot learn Torah? Or what can he do additionally to learning Torah? Then it says, Yashpil dato, he should become humble. Because person who speaks Lashon Hara usually thinks higher of himself than others. And the remedy for that is to gain anava, to gain humility. Now, Rabbi Yossi says, someone who spoke Lashon Hara, really there is no remedy. The words came out, they're going to be spread, the damage is done, it's going to continue from generation to generation. You cannot fix it. So what is the remedy for Lashon Hara? He says, before you come to speak Lashon Hara, learn the laws of Lashon Hara, and don't say Lashon Hara. That's the only remedy for Lashon Hara. Don't start with it. Okay. Now, let's continue with some laws of Lashon Hara. We said that if there is a constructive purpose, you are allowed to speak negatively about a person. For example, in Shidduchim, you have to be very knowledgeable in this area because some information you have to say. For example, if somebody wants to meet a boy or a girl, and you know that they have a certain disease that will affect their ability to have a family, either to have children or they have a mental issue that will not allow them to have healthy communication with their spouse. So the rule is that if their condition is such that a normal person would not want to be married to such a person, then you are obligated to inform the other party. For example, if a woman or a man cannot have children and they want to get married, so the other party has to know about it. One of the reasons we get married is to have children, and if you know that this boy or a girl cannot have children, you are obligated to say it. And if the person nevertheless wants, for example, they already have their own children or they're older and they themselves cannot have children, so then it's fine. But if they still are getting married with expectation to have children, then you cannot hide this information. And even though it is negative, and even though it's against the wishes of the person who wants to get married, because he knows that if people find out that he cannot have children, nobody's going to want to marry him or her. But still, this is the information that you have to say. And similarly, if there is severe mental disability or other physical diseases. But these questions cannot be decided on your own. It depends on particular community, it depends on the age of both parties, so such a question has to be asked. Okay, now next, some statements are positive towards one individual, but they may be negative towards another individual. And depending who you're speaking to or about, this information may turn negative or positive. For example, if you're speaking about a child and you praise them for what kind of help they offer you at home, that may be very good. But if you offer the same praise about a girl that's about to get married, that may be very little, and that may be cutting her chances to get married. Because we expect more from some people, and we expect less from others. So you have to be very careful to find out what is the expectation of this person in the eyes of my audience. And if the expectation, if their view of this person is very high, then I should not tell them average things, because they expect much more. On the other hand, it may backfire the opposite way. If I'm speaking about somebody who people don't think so highly about, and now all of a sudden I'm going to praise them, even if it's true, but they're going to be shocked and they're going to say it cannot be, and then they're going to start saying negative information. An example that happens often is if someone asks a potential shidduch, a girl asks a shadchan, how much does this boy learn? Does he learn Torah? And the shadchan may say, yes, he learns every day 2-3 hours.
The potential.
Is this is true, a true statement? He learns every day 2-3 hours. Is this a positive statement or negative statement?
Positive. Someone who wants a guy who learns.
So it depends.
Someone who
If you're
doesn't
talking
take
about a working person, he works 9 to 8. He comes home 9 o'clock. And afterwards, he spends time with children and wife. He goes to Beit Midrash 11 and he learns until
That is a praiseworthy.
1 a.m., 2 a.m. and then he comes home and goes to sleep.
Wow.
So that's very praiseworthy. But what if you're talking about a boy who is in yeshiva full time
That is horrible. Unless
and
it's
he's
just-
supposed to learn minimum 8 hours, 8, 10, 12, 14 hours a day. And you say that he only learns 2-3 hours.
That's
Horrible.
negative.
So that's very negative. So before speaking, you have to find out if this information really is negative or positive. It's not across the board. Yes.
If somebody asks you, let's say a shidduch, right, they want to make, and somebody asks you, is this individual Shomer Shabbos? And the shadchan says, let's say, says yes, but their answer is no.
You're saying they're lying.
That's a lie. But there's a potential there, no?
Yes.
Is this a negative or positive statement?
No, again, you cannot hurt somebody. They're going to get married, and there are many cases like this. They get married,
But isn't
and
that discussed?
then he doesn't want to keep anything, and she says, you know what, the shadchan assured me that he's going to keep Shabbat afterwards, and the boy never said that, and he never intended that, and then for the rest of her life she's miserable and she's sinning because of him and because of the shadchan. However, if somebody asks you, do they keep Shabbat, and you know that they don't keep Shabbat according to your level,
Right.
but according to the level who is the person who is asking, they keep the same Shabbat as the person who is asking. So then, again, for them, you're answering on their level. And if somebody who is asking, all they do, they're keeping Shabbat, is that they do Kiddush Friday night and they go to Shacharit Shabbat morning, and that's it, they don't know anything else. So then, the person you're speaking about, you could say he keeps Shabbat, yes. But if their understanding of what Shabbat is much higher, then you cannot say that. For example, when I used to date, my relatives used to call me and say, oh, we have a girl for you, she's very religious.
What does that mean?
And I didn't take them seriously. Why? Because what's religious for them is not what I'm looking for.
But,
Can we get personal? What
Can
are
I
you
just-
looking for?
can I just say something?
Yes.
And I want to tell you. So when my husband was looking for a shidduch, my husband was like very cutthroat kind of strict guy, and the person who gave him my phone number did not tell him the truth because my husband asked, is she Shomer Shabbos, is she from, blah blah blah, and the person said yes, yes, yes. I was never any of those things. On the opposite, when I met my husband, I went to Barnes and Noble and I what 101 things to know about Judaism. That's how far I was. But when my husband did call me and we had a conversation, I was like, no, whatever. I don't know, something prompted for us to go out, whatever. But look what the outcome is 10 years later.
But you take the exception and make it the rule. It worked for you and Joe
Yes,
and Jane and
yes.
Sarah and David.
You were open-minded and you were willing to listen, to try, to read, to buy a book. But if a person is not, and if they're actually lying and they just want to get married and then they're
Oh, yeah,
gonna
that's wrong.
show
That's
their true colors,
I was very honest.
yes, yes.
I feel like that's what Rabbi said about being subjective versus objective.
Yeah.
You find halacha, it's just subjective, and then we have the rules. But subjectively it works out for a person. Like we
And
can't.
there are those kinds of stories everywhere, but you can't say it's gonna work for everybody because of what
Yeah,
goes
So
on.
we just like why?
Yes.
I have a question. So when you said they're Shomer Shabbos according to their level, but what if then if that doesn't work out, let's say that shidduch, then they have a friend, they're like, oh, they're Shomer Shabbat, but it's that friend is more. So then that friend is
Okay, usually there is more than one contact between the potential person and the shadchan. So they're going to call again, they're going to ask, and usually the shadchan shouldn't just match two phone numbers. He should also check if one is a boy, one is a girl, he should also check that
That's where they
that's where they live it. Yes, they should also check if they match in their lifestyle and their outlook on life and future goals. And he should weed out and recommend that this is not for you. So you don't have to worry about the future.
Should one be, like, let's say in the case where you said the shadchan knows that the boy is like, only keeping Shabbat to the extent like you said or whatever, and then there's the girl that's asking, or the opposite, and then can you be more specific, like, oh, I know that they keep Shabbat to this extent, that they do kiddush, that they go to shul.
If they ask, because sometimes people, they're more favorable towards themselves and negative towards others. They themselves might be doing the same thing, but they have excuse why they're like that. And if they hear that someone else is like that, they're going to say, why not? Why aren't they any better? So therefore, you have to know who you're speaking to.
So, as single girls, let's say, if we have dated somebody and a friend asks, oh, I heard you used to go out with so-and-so, why didn't it work out?
That was
Like,
exactly
how much, how much can you
Because if you
say?
say nothing, it's like
Yes,
you're bad.
yes. So number one, if somebody asks you about experience about a certain person, you have to make sure you don't add anything of your own subjectivity. You don't say, I didn't like him. You say that whatever is objective and only important things that you know that for them it's going to be to matter.
This is about if you dated somebody.
If you dated somebody and someone else wants to date them now,
You say what
and
you
they're
did
asking your
I
advice.
heard that when I was in the Lashon Hara class, the speaker said that you shouldn't even mention like the person that you dated, like it's like territory you shouldn't even talk about.
No, so if people don't know who you dated, you shouldn't come and advertise. But if they know it's your friend, they know you dated this person, and now they want to date and they want information,
Right, but
they
there's
want to
always gonna be
decide.
some kind of negative
So
thing,
yes,
you
they
know?
have to understand that when they ask you, and when you answer, you also have to make sure you don't spoil their marriage, because maybe this is for them.
Right, okay.
And if it is for them, you cannot say anything negative, because maybe what didn't work out for you, maybe it was your own fault, or just didn't match, may work out for them. Maybe something they are looking for, a character trait you didn't like, maybe that's exactly what they want. So you have to give just general information, the height, the color of his hair, the age.
I wish it was something like that. Because like if it's something more complicated, then there's no way.
If there is something dangerous that you want to protect your friend from, then for sure.
Like
Ask
even if
around.
it's
But-
not dangerous, even if it's something like, oh, like our values didn't match. Oh, what value? Because you have great values. What is the problem?
Right.
You have-
Right. If there is more than one kosher value, then you cannot say that, right? If some people follow one philosophy, other people follow another philosophy, but both philosophies fit into mainstream Judaism, you cannot say that we had different ideas what Judaism is, because it sounds like I had the right and he had the wrong.
And then with shadchanim, like, how do you give them feedback that, yes, thank you for setting me up with this person, it didn't work out, not a
With
match.
shadchanim, you can be a little bit
Tell
more
me why.
open. With shadchanim, you can be a little bit more open because hopefully they're professional and they follow the rules of confidentiality, and they're not gonna give this information over in your name especially, and they will just keep the information for themselves to be able to assist this person more. So with shadchanim and with rabbis, you can be more open. But again, if this is information that they don't need to know and it's not going to affect anything, then you're not supposed to say it even to them. Okay, next. One more example that is also popular. How much charity someone gives. You can say, oh, this person gave $10,000 charity last year. Right? So sounds good. Sounds on average that's what all of us would give 10% from our salary. It would come to $10,000. But sometimes this information may be very positive, sometimes it may be very negative. For example, if a person earns, let's say, $50,000 a year, and he gives $10,000 charity, so he's doing more than would be expected from him. He's giving 20% instead of 10%. However, if you're speaking about somebody who earns $1 million a year, and he gives only $10,000 charity, that's much below of what is expected from him. We would expect him to give at least 100,000, anywhere between 100,000 to 500,000, 900,000 we would expect him to give, and he's only giving 10,000. So that would be very negative. So you cannot say, my friend, he's very rich and he's so generous, last year he gave $10,000 charity. That would be Lashon Hara.
So why would someone speak about that?
I mean, it's a nice thing. Wow, you told me to do that.
Sometimes these things are publicized though, no, by the organization.
If it's one donation out of many, okay. But if you know information that he gave only this amount in the whole year, that may be negative information. We said that even if it's he's giving exactly 10%, it still may be negative for a different reason, because maybe then people will attack him with requests, and he may be embarrassed to say no. Okay. It is also forbidden to speak negatively about person's property and his objects and his merchandise. Whether you're speaking badly about his house, his car, the tree that grows in front of his yard, or he's a businessman that sells stuff and you speak badly about his services or his merchandise. And even if you just hint to it, for example, a new store moved into your neighborhood and you say, finally, we're going to have good service. Or a new person came who does nails and you say, finally, somebody who knows how to do nails. And therefore, the business people themselves, when they advertise their own products, they have to be very careful not to denigrate, not to put down the competition. Not to say, nobody does such a good job as I. I'm the best. Whenever you say I'm the best, automatically you're saying that the people that you know are not so good.
So they say the finest produce.
Yeah, the finest, the best. Nobody does as good of a job as I. All these, they border Lashon Hara, and maybe they really are Lashon Hara, yes.
Is there a leeway because everyone says that?
Just because everyone does something does not give you the right.
But I mean, I've
to-
never read a pizza store's best pizza. I'm like, oh, that must be
Yeah.
the best. Like, no one
So
really believes
yes,
that.
that tricks you. You really think this is the best, and it's not. Even if it is true, you're not allowed to say that. And even if you're going to lose business, you have to find a statement that's, you can say one of the best, or any other thing that looks positive, but at the same time does not put down anyone else. Okay, now we spoke about speaking Lashon Hara. And we mentioned briefly about listening to Lashon Hara. And now I want to speak more about listening to Lashon Hara. It is a Torah prohibition to accept, which means to believe the words, the negative information that you hear. And it is also a negative prohibition to even listen to Lashon Hara. Now, so to begin with, if you realize that your friend is about to say something negative, you should stop them right away. And what if you didn't have a chance to stop them? They already spoke. Then it is your obligation not to believe what they say. And you have to find a reason why they may be mistaken, why the information is wrong, they misinterpret it. For example, just this past week, somebody sent a message on WhatsApp that a friend of theirs was walking on a street, and in front of her, she says, was a religious man with a black hat leading an elderly woman. And she said this man spoke very negatively towards this woman. And this man was from a certain yeshiva, a famous yeshiva that she knows. So sounds very bad, and sounds that really this man is bad, and not only that, sounds that every religious man that has a black hat is bad, and sounds like that everyone who learns in that yeshiva is bad. Imagine, even if the information is true, but in addition to speaking negatively about this person, she spoke negatively about all the religious Jews, and especially all the religious Jews that wear black hats, and the entire yeshiva. Now, what we found out later is that really this man was not from that yeshiva. He was just walking next to that yeshiva. So right away, the entire yeshiva was painted in black for nothing. And then we found out that really he wasn't wearing black hat, but he was the type of man who could wear a black hat.
What does that mean?
Huh?
What does that mean?
He wore a white shirt and black pants, so he's a black hat type of guy. And this was information from the friend to this friend, and now she's saying it over on a chat, and everybody is listening to. Many people. She may be doing it out of good heart to whoever she wants to protect, but look how much damage can be done to thousands of people just because of one comment that is exaggerated and maybe shouldn't have been said at all. And then if you think about it, if people would hear what goes on behind closed doors in all our families, what we may say to our siblings or to our parents or grandparents, and they would publicize it, look at what this person said to their mother or father or sibling, chas v'shalom, and what curses occurred, came out of their mouth, then we would all be embarrassed. So just because you hear someone saying something doesn't mean you have to publicize, because if we would publicize everything, the world would not be able to survive. Everybody would be afraid to come out of their house because they would be so ashamed and embarrassed. Now, if you are among people who speak Lashon Hara to each other, they're not speaking to you in particular, they're speaking just in a group. So if you can stop them, change the topic, convince them that this is Lashon Hara, let's not speak about it, you should do that. If you cannot, then you have to leave them. You have to walk away. What if you are stuck, you cannot walk away, you are in a dentist chair and he's speaking to the nurse about the previous patient, and you know who the previous patient is, and they're telling you all the bad information, what should you do? We say that Hashem gave us fingers, and on purpose they fit into your ears, right? So you have to block your ears. You have to feel bad that I have to be here and listen to Lashon Hara. You have to show Hashem that I'm not enjoying this. I don't want this. I don't want to participate in this. And you have to not believe it. And you have to stay silent and not show any approval. Okay, and the last thing, just a practical case. Your cousin that visits you tells you, you know, I saw your neighbor just now yelling at her husband. She was treating him so disrespectfully. What should you do?
Not your business either.
Probably not
I know that.
Huh?
It's probably not my neighbor.
It's not my business. I would just say it's not my business.
Yeah, so to begin with, you shouldn't listen to her. If you recognize that she's about to say something negative, don't listen. Try to stop her. And if she already said it, don't believe her. Because if you believe her, your neighbor's worth is going to be lowered in your eyes.
How do you not believe somebody?
And this is not something you witnessed yourself. And if you didn't witness yourself, Did it really happen or not? What were the words? How were they said? Was it in a joking way? Did she hear all the words? Maybe she misinterpreted the word. Maybe it was a positive word and she thought it was negative. Maybe he spoke in a different language and in that language it's a good word. Yes.
Can you maybe just think like, okay, so she yelled at him. Sometimes people
And
yell at each other. Like,
yes, you cannot believe, but in the worst case that it really happened, you have to say that yes, we all have our moments and nobody is perfect. And so you cannot nod to her, you cannot smile to her, you cannot wink to her, because then you're going to be encouraging her to continue speaking, and you're going to be showing her that you agree with her and that it really is true that probably this happens every day. Now, they say that really it is very difficult not to believe the information that you're given, especially if it's your cousin, your friend. How can it be that they're lying? And usually people are not lying openly, as we said. They may be misinterpreting or exaggerating. But still, the Chafetz Chaim gives an advice. Think that the person that they're speaking about is your brother or your dear sister, someone that you love, or your parent. And imagine if they would say the same thing about them. For example, he says, imagine someone comes to you and says, you know, we saw your brother taking something off the shelf in a store and leaving without paying. Would you say, oh, you should have called police, such a terrible boy, I knew him from his childhood? Or you're going to try to find an excuse for him. Maybe he paid for it first and then he went. Maybe he bought something and it was broken, so he returned it and he just picked up a new item. Maybe he is the owner's son, or he's the owner himself. So too, we have to try to treat everyone as our brothers and sisters and try to find excuses for them. Try to give them the benefit of the doubt. Find a reason to interpret it in a different way, put it in a different perspective. And for sure, you cannot act upon this information. Not only you cannot believe, now you cannot treat them in any way differently than you did otherwise. Your smile has to be the same. Your hello has to be the same. Your favors to them have to be the same. Not in any way different because you heard negative information. And not, on top of that, if you can, you have to rebuke your cousin for saying such a thing. Okay, you see something inappropriate, you hear something inappropriate, keep it to yourself, don't spread it. Yes?
What if you hear, like, say, I don't know, like, it could be like, chances that like, oh, someone, you know, you see them as being religious now, and you don't know their past, and then someone says, like, oh, they weren't religious. And that, like, in one sense, makes you feel more connected to them, because you can relate. So, maybe for somebody else it was like Lashon Hara, but for me, it was something nice, but like, I can
Yes.
now connect to that person better.
Yes, some things depend on the intention, right? For you, it may be positive, for someone else negative, but we need to know, what did the person mean? Did he say it as a praise for them? Look, I admire them. Look where they were and now who they became. But if he said it negatively, then Baruch Hashem, he's lucky that you heard it and you interpreted it positively. But his intention was negative, and whoever hears it with their understanding his real intent, he gets a sin for every person who hears it. Yes.
But what if it's your parent who is venting out, but yet you don't want to stop them because it's disrespectful? You can't
Yes.
change the
So
subject?
yes, if it's your parent or someone that you respect, then again you have to keep in your mind that I'm not believing it. I will try to rebuke them or teach them in a nice way, and I will try to speak positively about the person there if possible. and my intent is that maybe let them vent so that they don't continue speaking negatively to others. And you have to, again, keep in mind that in no way may my relationship to that person change. So, Bezat Hashem, if we have another class, we'll cover more cases and more laws. If not, acquire one of these books, either that one, this one, or any one that you find, any book you find in the store, and review it daily for the rest of your life. Bezat Hashem will be spared from this sin, and we should all use our tongue, our speech, for benefit of others and to inspire people and gain mitzvot. Bezat Hashem. Amen.